All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petri here. Thanks again for coming by, joining along with us here. We're going to be doing a beautiful seascape painting. Palm trees, rocks, crashing waves coming in, puffy white clouds. We have all kinds of interesting colors of the sand here in this painting. So we're going to show you how to mix all these colors. We're going to work from a photograph. So this will be the photograph we work from on our phone. So I will have this in the picture at all times. You'll see the photograph we're working from on camera all times. We're also going to show you a palette that we're working with. I put this palette together just recently. I'll zoom back a little bit. It's basically a color wheel palette, so we just have the colors of the color wheel, red, yellow, and blue, and then we mix all of our colors, our secondary and tertiary colors, right in our pan. And everything gets all mixed first before we start our painting, and then we go right in, and when we're starting our painting and working through most of our painting, we're going to have all these colors all mixed, all ready to go for the painting. And then we can just work confidently as we go at a good pace through our painting, and we're not going to be worrying about what colors we're going to be mixing because they'll all be in the pan waiting for us to use. And so this is going to be a really fun video. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back, and we'll get started with the pencil drawing, and we'll show you a little bit about the palette too as well. We'll just discuss the color wheel, so we have a color chart. I've made videos on this too as well, so we'll cover all that in just a second. Okay, be right back. All right, so we saw the finished painting, and now we're just going to start our process for getting our drawing completed for this scene. And the beautiful ocean, and the rocks, and the beach, and the sky, clouds, some trees, of course. So first thing we'll just notice is the horizon line here where the sky meets up with the distant ocean. I would say that's about a third, maybe a little less than a third up from the bottom. So we'll kind of make a note that it's maybe about a quarter of the way. Yeah, I'd say that's about a quarter of the way. So it doesn't have to be exact. And we'll make a hash mark on our tape, and we'll say that's about quarter. And then we have some clouds here, so we could even just make some indication lines, hash marks, as to where the clouds start. The clouds start about here, a little bit above the ocean. Horizon line there. And then the tops of the clouds are about here. Like that. Then we have some more clouds over here, so we can kind of just make a note here that these clouds up here start about here, and then they go to about halfway across the picture frame, or the rectangle. So we go over here about halfway. Approximates, doesn't have to be exact. And then we have some palm trees over here, and that's going to be resting upon the beach over here on the left, and we can now take our line and go across. I like to use a T-square ruler and rest it on the edge of my paper, and we can also measure up from the bottom where this pencil line is, and just take a quick note of that. So this is 1 3/4 inches, and I just come over here 1 3/4 inches. And make a line there. And then I just line up both of those marks like that, and cross like that. And we'll notice that there's a bit of a hill here, a rocky kind of coastal feature here coming down like a small hill. So we'll just make note that it's something like this here. And then we'll notice that there's just some indication lines. What I'll do is I'll go over this with a darker pencil line in just a minute or two. I'm just trying to do it lightly first. And that's a good approach. A good approach is always draw your pencil lines first when you're starting out, really lightly, doing some dashed lines here and there, make some indications of where you want things when you're working. And then once you have that completed, then you can go over it again with a darker pencil line, especially if you like pencil lines in your paintings, if you like to see those in the watercolor painting. If you are not so enthusiastic about seeing pencil lines in your watercolor, you can always do your drawing super light in the beginning, and then you just work, at that point you work from there, and you don't need to darken up any lines. But I like seeing the pencil lines myself, so I'm going to go over this again with a darker pencil line, especially too since I want you to see the pencil drawing. So I'm not going to get incredibly detailed with the rocks. I'll put some of the rocks in, but not all of these. And that's another thing you can always recall when you're painting. You can add or delete things out of your scene when you're looking at either a photograph, or if you're there at the beach and you're drawing and painting, or you're working from your phone or a picture, anything like that, any kind of subject matter. As an artist, you always have that option to add things in if you want to, which is a little more challenging and difficult. But removing things is a lot easier. You can just say to yourself, well, I'm going to draw a few of these rocks, but I'm not going to draw all of them. Or you might say, I like them all there. I definitely want all of those rocks in the painting. And then you would proceed and go that route. But you always have that option of, again, removing or deleting things from your subject matter. And again, I think it's more difficult to add things in sometimes to a painting, because it's just... it has more challenges to it, but you know, you'll get the hang of it once in a while. You want to try that out, add something into your painting. It's a fun way to kind of just try something like that's you know, has some challenges to it. You have, I guess myself, when I add things into paintings, I try to really be careful and kind of notice if I have to make something a little larger, a little smaller. I would definitely, myself, I always try to just key in on the scale of things, of like making sure that it's the proper size that it would need to be in the painting that matches the other features that are in the painting. So let's continue on here. I'll just get a few more things here. I'll put some of these palm trees in here. And those go about... And I noticed that I might have made this hill a little bit large. So let me make that a little smaller. I'll just, since I did a light pencil line to start with. Now I can change it and it's fine. So now I'm just going to get some again, light pencil lines just to get some ideas for my palm trees here. Make sure they're looking realistic like we see here. So I just try to look at the angles of the palms. And there's some lower palm type plants over here. Okay, and then I see some rocks over here in the distance. Then the rocks start to come over here, closer to our vantage point. Shadow. Look there. And then some radiating lines just to kind of note the perspective here. All right, so that's sort of the start of it, doing that real light preliminary sketch. A few more palm trees over here. All right, so we'll take a quick break. We've done quite a bit of drawing. we'll do the clouds next, and then we'll go over with a darker pencil line. So let's take a break, and we'll come right back and keep doing our preliminary sketch, and then we'll go over with our contour drawing. Alright, so we're going to continue. Let's get our clouds in. And our cloud here, I can see it trails toward the center of the picture on a little bit of an angle. Not a very, very steep angle, but a very, very slight angle across like this. So I'm just going to do a slight indication like that. Okay, and then over here, just some indications with some cloud shapes there. And then it kind of diffuses over here. So it's kind of like a hazy bit of clouds over here. These are more distinguishable. They're pretty solid looking over here. There's some grayish blue and red and gold tones in the shadows over here, so that's good. And then over here we just have some more indications of some lighter clouds up above here, so that's good. Just a little indication. I don't like to do too much detail in the skies. It's my own personal preference. I'm not going overboard with skies and clouds and things. I try to leave that more subdued and quiet in the paintings. And let's see. So now I'll do my contour drawing. I think I'm going to start over here, and I'm just going to do my darker pencil line. So I'm going to do the sloping hill here. And there's some rocks here, so I'm going to create the rocks. The rocks kind of look rectangular and sharp for the most part. Then there's some round curves in them too. And I'm going to try to concentrate on what I'm seeing here as I'm looking at all these rocks. I'm trying to basically, as best I can, draw them the way I'm seeing them right in the photograph, like this. And there's a few over here. I changed this one a little bit, the shape of that one. I should probably just follow the... I think I just... Let's do this one pretty much the way it is here, like that. And there's a shadow here. I'll go lighter with the shadow. And then I put kind of like a corner, a bit of a rock here in the corner. I did change it a little bit here. So I just put a rock shape here, and the rest is pretty much exactly the way I see it. And there's some small rocks here and there you can see in the painting, so we'll put a few of those in here and there. And then these lines, I'm not going to make them too dark where the sand and the ocean and the waves are meeting up with the beach here. And I think that's pretty good. Let's get our palm trees in here, so I'll try to replicate what I'm seeing here. We have most of the palm trees we're going to paint in everything with the brush, so we don't have to really, I won't draw these in really, really dark with the pencil lines because we're going to paint them. But I will get some of those indications of the palms and the way they're flowing. Looks like there's a wind coming in from the ocean this way, because I can see most of the branches are kind of flowing to the left here, right to left. And there's some other palms that are here, like this, flowing down, but I do see a lot of them kind of going that way. So that's that there, and some more over here. And then some smaller plants here that look like palm type plants over there. And I think we have a good drawing here. Let's get this distant ocean line. I'm just contour drawing right over the top of that ocean horizon line there, the distant ocean. And it looks like it's a little bit dark, and then there's some other clouds in the distance. All right, so I think we have captured this contour drawing just the way we're seeing it here. I left out these bit of palms up here on the top left. I left those out and just wanted to concentrate on these here on this side here. And they have those curves like that. I always think it's a good idea to try to make your pencil lines like as notes sometimes. Like sometimes you'll get the general idea of, let's say, the trees in here. And then what I'll do is, I think it's helpful, I'll kind of make just like some lines, so, because I'm seeing those lines in these palm trees where you have the palms, the actual palms, and they're kind of pointing like downward on an angle. So if I make sure I capture a few of those lines and details in the painting, I think it's going to look it's going to read more realistically. So I just want to make sure I do that. Okay, so let's get started with the painting. So I'll take another quick 5 minutes. I just want to get some water for my water container and get my water container set up. So in just a second, we'll get back started again. We'll start the painting. All right, so let's get started with the painting process. And this is kind of a newer palette I put together. It's basically just the lid of a this is, I guess, like the Anderson palette, aluminum palette. I think this is in my description below. In the comments section below, you'll see I have all the links to all the art supplies that I use. So I have all these supplies already in my comment section down below. So you could look these parts up. Like this is a Holbein or an Anderson palette. Pretty much you can find these palettes. And then I just bought some extra, to have on hand, some extra paint wells here. I have those in the description below too. You can get those very easily. I just double stick taped them to this palette, so they're nice and firm. Double stick tape, and then you can always lift them up with like a small butter knife or something. Or once you're done, if you use your palette for a couple months and you want to change where your wells are, you can have fun and be creative with putting some palettes together that might be a little bit different according to what you would like. But this one here, I modeled it after the color wheel. So basically what I did here is I just, we had a couple videos just recently. You can also look up Chris Petri color wheel, and you'll see just recently we did some color wheels on YouTube on this channel. And we kind of went over how we mixed all of our colors from our primaries, red, yellow, and blue. So basically I just took this same concept and put in red, yellow, and blue in the center of this palette, right? And then from here, when we're going to start mixing up our colors, we can just take these colors and start mixing our secondary colors, orange, green, and violet. And then we can even mix out our tertiary colors, which are a little more grayed down and more relaxed looking. So in your painting, you probably want to have some relaxed colors, a little bit more grayish, colors that are grayed down a little bit, just not as high intensity. And then you want your high intensity colors too, like your primaries and secondaries in your painting. So this palette kind of just will help us to sort of organize our colors right from the start of the painting. And let's do that. Let's keep this in mind. That's why I put this together, just to see if this might be helpful. And you'll also let me know if you like this palette by typing 1 in the comments section below. So if you want to see how I made this, I can kind of show you the process in about 10-15 minutes on a small short video. So you let me know if you want me to type 1 in the comment section below, the number 1 in the comment section. That's all you have to do. Hit 1, And then what I'll do is, if a lot of you have typed 1 in the comment section below, then I know you would want to see me put this together. So I'll show you how I put this together. It's really easy. Again, it takes like, if you're not good with handiwork and things like that, you let somebody like your son or a daughter, niece, nephew, someone in your family that's really good with like construction and stuff like that. They can put this together real easy. You just ask them, could you watch this YouTube video and do this for me and make this palette for me, put it together. And that should be fine. Maybe you throw them like $20 or something, or $40, and they'll do it for you probably. They'll be happy to do it. So let's see now. What we'll do is we'll take this again. We'll just take our color wheel just right from the beginning, and then we can look at our painting and say, all right, let's look at the primary or predominant colors in this painting, so that we kind of know how we're going to sort of mix out our colors. So what we'll do is we'll say this is mostly blue, a lot of blue sky here, and then bluish green ocean colors, and then we have some warm reds and golds for the sandy beach here, and then we have some darks for the rocks and things like that. So we might have to add in maybe some burnt umber to get our darks for the rocks. I think we will have to add a little bit of burnt umber, I think, to this palette. So that's another thing I'll show you. We'll add that in just a second. But let's get our primaries first all set up, and secondaries and tertiaries. So our primaries are already here. Let's get our secondary colors. So we'll take red, and we'll go here and we'll make an orange. Okay, that's sort of an orange there. What I do is when I mix these colors on the palette like I'm doing, I keep a paper towel, and then when I rinse off my brush in the water container, so I have a water container right here, right next to me, I take the brush, rinse it off, and then I tap on this. You can use a sponge or tissue or paper towel. This way we're not adding too much or flooding out our palette with too much water. So we made our orange here. So that's the red and yellow. That's our orange. Then let's make our green. So we'll take cerulean, I think, here. I'll put it over here, why not? A little bit of French ultramarine too. So we'll use a mixture of these two blues here. Like that. And again, we're going to have lots of blue in this painting. So again, I rinse off my brush, dry off the brush a little bit here. And we want green, so we have blue, and then we want yellow. Maybe a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow. That looks a little better, yeah. Okay, so that's our green. A little toward the, yellow. And you can mix a little more if you want, because we know we're going to use a lot of this actually. So let's mix a lot of this. Let's get a lot of this bluish green. Green actually. We're making green right now. We're going to stick to our game plan of making the primaries and secondaries right now on the palette. So that's our green. Then we're going to make our violet, and then we'll go with we'll make our violet over here. Blue and red. Blue and red. And there we have our violet. Okay, so now we've created the color wheel again on this palette. The reason I did this again is to be able to use this same exact formula with my color schemes in my paintings without being too fancy with too many colors. Maybe I just want to kind of limit my colors and see if that will look good in my paintings. So I'm just trying this new method here. So we have this. Then we're going to mix out our tertiary colors, which are the mixtures of all the primaries and secondaries together. So we'll start maybe here, orange. This is red orange, so we're going to go with red and orange. Red. And we'll take some of this orange, and that's our red orange. Then we're going to go, might need a little more And this is a new palette too, so it's gonna take a while to break in, and then we won't get those funny type of things that you see there, where it puddles up like that. Then we're gonna go with our yellow orange. So let's take this, our yellow, and mix it with some of that orange. That's our yellow orange, and then we're gonna go with yellow green. Maybe we'll take some of this green up here, and we'll make that with some of the lemony color there. And some of the gold too. And some of this here. Okay. And that's our yellow green. Now we're going to rinse off the brush, dry off the brush a little bit here. Then we're going to go for the blue-green. So we're going to say blue and green mixed together. We'll take some blue down here. Again, this palette takes a while to break in. Once we use it 3 or 4 times, that little bit of film will wear off. You can also put some toothpaste on there and wipe it down very lightly with some just a tiny bit of toothpaste with water, and I think that would kind of keep this from puddling like this. And someone will fact check me on that in the comment section, so if anyone knows about, I think it's the toothpaste trick where you just use a tiny bit of toothpaste with water, and you could use your paintbrush and you just kind of swish it all around with some water, and it helps it so that there's not these puddles like that. So again, we're making our blue-green tertiary color. So we have our blue, and then we're going to take some of that green. And you can make some more blue and yellow here for our green. So if you have to make your colors again and make your secondaries and your around this, you just keep mixing more if you use up what you've already mixed. Okay, so that's our blue-green. Then we need our blue-violet. So we're going to take some of this violet like this here and add some blue to it. Maybe both of these blues, like that. Then we're going to have our red-violet. So red and violet mixed together. So we'll take some red, and we'll take some of this violet. And then we have red-violet. Okay, so we have all of our colors mixed. All of our secondary and tertiary colors are all here on the palette. Pretty much just like this. The same pattern right here. I get these weird texts on my phone sometimes, or from YouTube. Anyway. Alright, so we have the colors mixed out, just like we have here. And this is just a basic, fundamental way of approaching color mixing, where you mix everything first on your palette, and then from there, you're good. You can just work, and then as you need to, you can refer back to your color wheel and mix more colors if you run out of any of the colors. At this point, I would change out, since we did a lot of color mixing, you can kind of see how my water is really murky. Now's the perfect time. I'm going to take this water, empty it out. I'll take a quick break. I'll empty out my water bucket, put fresh, clean water in there, and then we'll come back and we'll put paint on the paper. All right, be right back. Alright, so I just filled up the water bucket. We're all ready to go with fresh, clean water. I have a little bit of double stick tape. I'll just do a quick, I'm going to add the burnt umber to my palette. I'd rather keep it in a pan. So I'm going to just take a small piece of double stick tape like this. Peel that off like so. So I have my double stick tape here. Then I take a pan like this. I take the back side of the pan and just put that double stick tape right on there. Now if you want to, I think we're going to use the burnt umber a lot in this type of a palette, so that's why I'm going to leave that with a lot of tape. If you just want to put it in temporarily, and you're not like, if you didn't want to put this in somewhat permanently, you could just put a lot smaller piece of double stick tape on it. This way it's easier to take on and off, because if you use a lot of double stick tape like this, it's going to get it's not easy to take it off the palette, but it's not hard either. But you know, it's just the less amount of double stick tape you use, it'll be easier to remove it from your palette and then, you know, put another different one in there, or if you want to change things around. So, okay, so that's there. And then we have some burnt umber. So we'll just put that in there. And now we have a little bit of a warm and a cool for our darks, our darkest darks, because we're going to need dark darks for the rocks. So what I'll do is I'm just going to have a swirl brush like this, and I'll just mix some brown, maybe some orange in there too. So we'll use the colors here that we have already mixed, and we'll just start getting in our rocks. So I'm going to go in, and it's also this area here of the hill. So we have a hill. There's some light on the hill here and there. So I'm going to try to capture the essence of what I'm seeing here. It's a little darker over here. Like that. And then it gets a little lighter over here, so I can see some. I'll use my tissue here to dry off some of that. I see some green over here. That's like light cascading across this area. So there's certain areas of this hill that are lit, sunlit, with some sunlight. So that's why we're going to make some of that green, that light green there, and I leave some white paper too, like that. Sort of just an impression of what we're seeing. You can go back in. Once you're done with this, you can go back in and add a little bit of dark if you want to. If you feel like you want to take your time making the darks and the lights in this section of the painting here, in this kind of this hill area. Like if you don't want to go too aggressive, it's to start with, you can always let that dry and then come back in again and make it darker. And then we're going to continue here. I'll do my darks first, alla prima. So we're painting alla prima right now, all at one time. Darks first. There's some lights on these rocks on the left side of the rock. So the light's coming from this way, and always a good thing to take a Sharpie marker and put a insignia of a spotlight or even something like that. And this way you know the sunlight's coming from this direction, this way. And then all you have to do is whenever you're painting and you think to yourself, oh, where do I have to put my light and my shadow? You just look up top here and remember, oh, I drew my light source there, and it's shining this way. So, because sometimes if you're in the middle of a painting and you're concentrating on your colors and your brush strokes and all this kind of thing, it can be easy to lose track sometimes. So, not a worry. We put that little insignia there on the top of the paper. And I want to make sure I get some warm and cool, so, and I vary the mixes here for my rocks. But for the most part, I'm keeping them dark, because I can see these are very dark. The rocks look really, really dark. So. Okay, and we're just going to continue on here. Pick up some of those tertiary colors with our brown. And the shadowing, that could be some violet. this. And this is pretty light, so we could just blend that over like that. A little bit of gold in this. And another bit of dark here. Yeah, maybe a little bit of light cascading across the top of that rock right there. A little bit of red in there too. So you can kind of see you have all your colors in your watercolor palette all set up and in there, and you can really just work from these colors, and it really just kind of makes the color selections as you're going through your painting a little bit quicker, I think, a little bit easier. It helps me. I just kind of thought to myself, how can I make it a little more straightforward to mix colors? And I just figured go back to the basics. I'm going back to the basics with the color wheel, so I started looking at the color wheel again, and now I notice that if I keep to pretty much just the 3 primaries, and you can mix up your primaries with different reds. You could use 3 different reds. You could use, this is alizarin crimson and cadmium red. You could add a 3rd red to this. Maybe you would add something like a burnt sienna. And then you could add a raw umber maybe to this for your yellow. And then you could add another blue too. You could add like Prussian blue, or maybe you could add another one of your favorite blues that you like. So we have some purple shadows here, just a little bit on these. I'll just try to get that little bit of that shadowing in there. And I continue with the darks, the rocks here. And then we'll do some of these other rocks over here. A little bit of warmth in there. Maybe we have to add some thicker paint here to make sure we keep our darks dark, because if we add too much water, then it's kind of hard to keep these dark. You can even leave these smaller rocks till at the end of the painting. You could put in these smaller rocks, like over here, if you wanted to. I'm just thinking out loud. Okay. And we'll just start working on our tree trunks here. All of our darks are already mixed up, so we have those already set right here. All of the darks that we just created from the burnt umber with the mixtures of red and some of the gold too even. And that's how we're just going to continue this here. And that gives us the trunks of the trees. And then the branches, the palms, we're going to mix these two together. And that's our yellow-green, and then our mixture of the blue and the burnt umber here. So we start to get some of that palms like this. And then we can mix up. And I would use some of that burnt umber. I wouldn't make these too bright in color because these are kind of in the distance, these palm trees. So if your palm trees, I'm just thinking out loud, if our palm trees are in the distance over here, they look dark over here, so they have that darker tonal value. So then we just make sure we have plenty of that French ultramarine blue and burnt umber here, just so we can keep that darker tonal value in the and then here you can just do some kind of like any old brush strokes just to fill in a little bit, so it kind of looks random. And then of course we're going to do some of those palms like so. And just a couple of indications of the palms. And again, I wouldn't go overboard with too much detail over here. And then over here, I just kind of, there's a tree over here. I think trees, a lot of times in branches and leaves and foliage, that it looks better if you just dance the brush around and kind of get it on there, and then do some finer details here and there once in a while, so that everything just looks loose and fun and not too overworked. So I think the overall idea of this is pretty good. And then I just maybe add in those, maybe there's some more there's some sunlight over here, kind of on this side of the Alright, I think that's good. I don't want to overwork it too much. I'd also like to do a little bit of splashing in this area. So I just pick up a little bit of blue here. Maybe the blue-green. Maybe a little bit of the green. Okay, that looks good. Alright, so now we have our darkest darks, for the most part, pretty well established, and now's the time we can start adding in our medium tonal values, our middle tonal values, and really light lights. And we'll keep some white paper for the clouds here and there. And so far I think it's really looking good. We have, again, the darks all completed now for the most part, and the next thing is to start to work in maybe some of the, again, the blues for the ocean and the greens for the ocean and the blues in the sky. And at this point I would say that a lot of hard work is completed now. I think the rest is going to kind of go pretty smoothly, and we'll do it in a more rapid fashion, or we're going to move a little quicker now because we're doing the sky and the ocean, and we're not going to have to be as, really painstakingly careful when we're doing our, and this is where you can add in some darker darks if you want, because sometimes we get a little bit, our paint usually dries lighter So when we're putting it on, it looks darker, but then it lightens up a little bit. So now's the perfect time if you want to darken up a few sections of the rocks or a few portions of the rocks. You can just go in and get that dark again and kind of reestablish some of the darks. And a little bit of gold in there, a little bit of green. I try to mix all my colors around on the paper so that everything looks like it's blending together, all the colors. Okay, so again, I'm just going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll start working on the ocean, and then we'll finish up with the sky. All right, so I'm going to spritz the palette here with a little bit of water. And I'll get some green here. So I'm just mixing some of the secondaries, green, violet. We're going to need some orange. For the sand color. Okay, so this is, we're going to start with our, I might use a smaller brush here. I might use this smaller brush that we started with. This is a Princeton number 3 Aqua Elite brush here. I'll look at the colors here, green and blue for the water. So I'm going to start and what I think is once I start winding down, while we're winding down the painting right now, then I'm not too like fussy with the color mixing. So because we used all of these colors in the painting so far, we really can't go wrong. So we can use any of these colors right now as we're just, developing the rest of the colors in the painting. I'm going to use some of that green. We can see like that nice kind of cool green. I'll leave some white paper for the foam and the waves and the white caps, things like that. I'll try to leave some highlights on the tops of the rocks, on the left side of the rocks. I like to leave white paper for the, again, the foam and the waves crashing and things like that. I think that's a good feel for that. Some blue, some burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, and a little bit of green. Maybe a little bit of darks in the far distance, maybe. Just a little bit of detail of some darker parts of the ocean out far in the distance. Okay, now I'm going to go with a little bit of a larger brush here. I'll change my water quick. Whenever I'm working on like the lighter tonal values, like the sand here is quite light, so with the clouds and the sand, I make sure I have really fresh, clean water in my water bucket so that I can get the colors that I want to accomplish here without having too much of the murkiness of the water muddying up the colors. So I'll try to use some of this orange here for the sand, and I think a little bit of red would be good with that too. That sand has a red feel. I would kind of use the roughness of the paper. This is Fabriano paper, rough paper. So I would try to a couple splashes. A little bit of yellow. And I will add a little bit of some splashing here in the water area. And that's going to give that feeling of like splashing of the water. And then here we can use some splashing for the grittiness of the sand. So we're just looking for some texture here, like that. And then if there's a few spots that you see maybe oversplashed, you just take a paper towel or tissue and blot up some of the, if you've oversplashed maybe where you think it, sometimes when we splash, sometimes the splashing can become excessive, like there's a little bit of randomness to the water in the all right, I think that's looking good. Maybe a little more of the alizarin crimson, kind of that warm. Okay, so now we'll start to work on the clouds. Blue. So I'll start up here. Maybe I'll start over here. Maybe a little bit of that purple, violet. And then I just use a damp brush and sort of start out with some shadowing there. And the shadow gets a little bit warmer too, so we have kind of a warm and cool effect of the shadows. So the bottom of the cloud is more that grayish blue, and then it warms up a little bit with some gold. Like this. So I'm just going to try to keep following what I'm seeing here. For the most part, I try to. We can always blot up a little bit if we need to, like that, to soften it up a little bit if it's too much. That looks pretty good, and then we're going to get some blue, French ultramarine blue, cerulean blue. Rinse off the brush. Then I'll just mix up some of that warm color too, just so it has some variation to it. And then I try to make some random kind of scrubbing around like this. And definitely more blue up at the top of the sky. And then it lightens up as it gets lower, and also warmer. It gets warmer. But I try not to fuss around too much with the sky. And a little more red and gold at the bottom of the sky. And then I just try to carefully, with very, very little water, meet the sky up with the rocks. A little bit of that red up here too, red and gold in the clouds up here. And I think it looks better blended up here at the top of the painting. I wouldn't want any really fine detail at the top of the painting here. And maybe some more blue here. See if I can kind of blend that in a little bit. And then this is the other part of the blue sky here. With a little bit of that gold and red, like a little bit of an orange, very little, a little bit of the orange in the bottom of the sky here. And maybe there's some clouds here. Like that. And we can blot up a little bit. And if anything looks I would just try to blend this in pretty much like that. And I think that's it. I think we're pretty much complete here. A couple of splashes in the sky, just because there's a lot down here that we did, splashing in the bottom of the painting. So if there's a few splashes at the top, if you don't like splashes, you just don't put them in. It's all about you're the artist. You want to kind of custom tailor your techniques and methods and what you're doing in your painting according to what your favorite look is that you want. But I think we're pretty much good. I think we have everything completed and finished here. We could put in a figure or two or a sailboat if we wanted to. We can do that at another time. But I think right now we're good. Always want to mention, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know again in the comment section if you want to see more of the, maybe a quick video on how I put this together, this palette, the color wheel palette. You just type in 1 in the comment section, and if I see a lot of ones, obviously I know we'll do a quick video on this too, maybe a 15-20 minute video. And also you can always subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, feel free. Subscribe. This way you're kind of locked in with us here, and you can join us each week or every other week, whatever time you have that you like to get together and paint with us. You just hit the subscribe button, and at least you'll be notified when we're making a new video each week. All right, so we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye. Hi everybody, I'm Chris Petri. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by my channel here. We're doing watercolor art 24/7. We're actually going to do a delightful painting today. We're going to use some simple subject matter. We'll do a still life. We have a coffee cup here. I have a plastic fruit, which is an orange, styrofoam. So you can use real subject matter. You can. I have a large amount of faux fruit. If you look up faux fruit online, you can find really all kinds of great. Every apples, oranges, grapes. You name it. Pears and different style apples, green apples. Granny Smith apples. Red Delicious apples, every kind of fruit and vegetable you can imagine. Styrofoam. This looks very real, very convincing. They have a really beautiful detail, the way they created these. So you can find some really good quality faux fruit. And what's nice about this is you can put it into a bag or a duffel bag and bring it anywhere you want and practice watercolor. And you can also leave it in the studio. You don't have to worry about anything like bugs or things going rotting or anything like that. I leave my faux fruit in my studio, and I have everything: limes, lemons, you name it. Like I said, all as much as they've made every kind of faux fruit and vegetable you can imagine. So I'm going to use just a simple orange. I'm going to use a simple white coffee cup. I'll use also a picture. Maybe we'll create. Maybe I'll make a picture. Just like for. Sometimes I'll just recall. I have a numerous amount of pictures. Clear glass pictures for flowers. I have some. I have a couple white pictures for flowers. So I have all different kinds of still life things in my studio that I use, and also sometimes I'll just draw from memory, and maybe we'll do that here for some of our items. But again, be creative. Set up a couple little still life setups for yourself, and just practice on those. And here we'll do that. We'll set up a nice across. I'm just going to set up a little few things. I'm going to take this here, and we're going to tape this down. Let's tape down our paper, our watercolor paper. Tape down our palette. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll tape this down first here. And it's always good to tape down our watercolor paper, and then tape off our sections that we want to. This way, when we're done with our exercises and our compositions, we can just take the tape off and we have a finished painting right there, waiting to put into a scrapbook, or we can put it on the wall and take, look at it for a few weeks or so and kind of critique it ourselves. That's always good to do. You take your paintings and you hang them up in your house, or give them away. You give them away sometimes too. Maybe you're going to sell them a few times here and there to friends, or gallery shows, whatever you do. But as an artist, it's always good to take your work and display it in your studio, in your house, and you can learn from it and say, I like that, I like this, I like that other thing I did there, and maybe I'd like to do this different next time. I think I could make it look better in this section or that section, or so forth. So always try to improve a little bit each time, and also enjoy the victories that you have when you're painting. So here, let's go in and we'll do just a simple composition, just so we can get some cool ideas here of. So I think I'll. So here I'm doing a picture, and then I'm going to do my coffee cup and the saucer. And I'm going to come around this way and we'll do our orange here. So this is just a fun composition. We're trying to and maybe we'll have a little bit of fun design on this. We'll do some blue ornamentation on this, and we'll do some more design here too. Do some more ornamentation on our. Just lightly here, I'm going to do a very light, just so I remember to have some ornamentation and interesting details on our vase here, our white vase. In this exercise, we should keep things loose, keep things fun. Maybe we'll pretend there's a little plant over top of this here, some flowers. Maybe there's a larger vase over here, and there's some leaves and things here. So we'll just make an indication of that. Okay, that looks good. And again, here we're having fun. We're just going to mix some colors and have a good time here. We're not worried too much about, is this a award-winning painting or anything like that. We're just having fun. We're going to practice the fundamentals of watercolor right now. So right now we just did our contour drawing. We went in, we looked at our subject matter. It could be from a book, from a picture. You might set up your still life with some cups and saucers and so forth, and fruit. You can use real fruit. You can buy faux fruit and vegetables and all kinds of interesting things. You could, if you don't like those type of things, you can set up things that you have around the house that you like. Maybe you name it, anything, kitchen items, some of favorite heirlooms, things like that. Anything that you want, you can just really set them up and draw them and paint them. So here I'm just doing a nice loose representation of coffee cup and an orange and a white vase. We're going to do some blue ornamentation on this, and there's maybe a little some leaves here. And let's see how we can just make this fun. Alright, I'll get my brushes here. Okay, and I have fresh clean water. Okay, let's get right in and we'll do some of the darks. Let's take some of that blue for our ornamentation. That is French ultramarine blue mixed with a little burnt umber, maybe a little burnt sienna. Okay. And maybe we'll blot out a little bit there. And maybe we'll go in with some sap green and some olive green. And we'll get a little bit of that leaf shape in there. This is fun. Look at this. How easy is that? This is just absolute fun with colors, and all we did was really set down a nice little bit of contour drawing, nothing fancy. And now we're letting our paints do the fun, the work. A little splashing. Loosen things up, splash a little bit, have fun. Don't worry too much about how perfect it looks. We're having an enjoyable time here. Alright, so we have a little bit of blue for our ornament here, a nice little stripe going along the top of the vase. Let's do some cobalt blue. And just a little flicking around of the brush to pretend we know what we're doing. There we go. Another great little bit of design. And how about here? Maybe a little bit of mineral violet. We'll go over here, mineral violet, purple, mixed in with a little cobalt blue. Change up the color a little bit. There we go, another little flick of some detail, and we got it. There we go. And a little more here, maybe some more in detail on this beautiful vase here. And again, we'll go right into the French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And let's do a little okay, now we'll use our needlepoint brush. And we'll even get into some more fine detail. Even this is pretty fine detail right here, but let's get even to some additional fine detail. Let's perfect. Okay, now let's take a little bit of that green that we have mixed here and a little bit of the blue and purple over here, and let's do some shadowing. Maybe a little cerulean blue too. A little bit of yellow ochre too, mixing a little bit of warm. Okay, now we're doing negative shade painting. We're taking this area here and we're accentuating the light on this side of the vase over here. So the light's coming from here. If we want to make sure, we just take a light insignia like that with a light bulb. And we say the light's coming from here. A little more of yellow ochre, just to warm up that cool green and blue that we were using. Okay, now we're at the bottom of the vase, which is in shadow. The light is catching this side of the vase and the so we'll let that be like that. There we go. Now, to make sure that we accentuate the light on this side of the vase, we will put a little bit of green and blue over here. Maybe a little mineral violet. And maybe we'll just lightly fade this out over here. But this is good. Make sure we do a little bit of a darker dark over here. Again, negative shade painting. We're painting around the subject to make it appear. So if we didn't paint this tonal value, this little darker over here on this side of the vase, then that part of the vase would not look as if it's there. So we want to make sure we paint negative shade painting to keep our subject matter looking real. Let's do our orange. Fire in that beautiful orange, cadmium orange. How does that look? That looks great. Let's add a little cadmium red to the bottom section here of that cadmium orange, and some yellow ochre. And then as we go up, let's fade it a little bit and make it lighter up here. There we go. A little bit lighter up here. Even if you have to use the tissue and lighten it up a little bit on the top of the orange. Perfect. A little more cadmium red in the bottom. And then we can mix that on. We use a dry brush. We take our cleaner brush, dry it off on the tissue, and then we can take some straight paint right out of the palette and go right into the painting. Don't even worry about mixing it onto the palette. Just go straight into the palette and right into the paint, onto the painting. And just dance the brush around a little bit here and there. Rinse off the brush again, dry it really well with some tissue, and then you can just move the paint around a little bit. Rinse off the brush again, dry it again with no paint, no water, and then just you get a nice sense of light on the top of the orange. Plenty of darker tonal value on the shadow area here. The orange is catching more light on top. And then let's go in, we'll do a little bit of shadowing on our coffee cup. Maybe we'll use a little bit of alizarin crimson here in cadmium red. And maybe we'll just do some exciting red over here. Sometimes we don't always have to stick to what we see in front of us. We can add different things to make it look better. That's what I'm doing here. I'm adding orange and red over here a little bit just to make things look better. And I'll go in with some French ultramarine blue again, a little bit of green, a little bit of shadowing under there. Let's get back into some of the greens up here. Let's change our color a little bit, add a little more burnt umber, or add some burnt umber to that green, which would be sap green and olive green, just to give us a little bit of a different look. Keep things different. Big leaf, small leaf. I was noticing my drawing, everything was looking the same size. All the leaves here were looking the same size. That's not a good look. It's better to change things around a little bit, have things look different, non-symmetrical. So I had one larger leaf and one smaller one. And we'll put a little more green there. And some cerulean blue with some of that green. Then we can go into some yellow ochre. Then we can go back, we'll pick up our needlepoint brush, some raw umber and some of that yellow ochre, and dance the brush around a little bit just to get a little variety here. Then we'll go in, we'll get some more sap green. And again, negative shape painting. I'm going to paint around that handle a little bit. And just splash and I'll paint in that edge of this vase here. Maybe a shadow over here a little bit. Another little splash over here. And maybe some green over here just to balance things. So I'll put some green over here. Alright, that is it. That is how simple we can have things in watercolor. Just taking a couple simple things like a coffee cup, an orange. You can pick, lemons, limes, any kind of fruit, vegetable you like. You maybe put down a picture, maybe some leaves, some shapes of leaf forms next to it. You don't necessarily have to draw a bouquet of flowers. Here you could just put something nearby, so you have a feeling of like this is near a bouquet of flowers or some a plant, some potted plants. You can expand this idea, make it a full painting, and then add in a potted plant or whatever you would like. But I think the key is it's really fun in watercolor to just do small parts of things. And once you practice small parts of things a lot, then you're sort of already ready to do it in a larger painting. Let's say if you want to make a large painting to frame or to bring to a gallery, if you're maybe going to have a gallery show, or if you have someone commissions you to do a painting for them and they see your work and love it and they want you to paint a painting for them, and they ask you if you can make it 18 by 24. So if we're always working in smaller format, that can be an issue. But if we paint our smaller format, smaller parts of the larger whole, then we can take this idea, add a potted plant to it within a larger painting, and then we have our painting. A coffee cup, a vase, a couple pieces of fruit, and a potted plant. We've already painted this, so now all we have to do is practice doing the potted plant a few times, let's say, and then we can make a larger format, a larger painting, and then we have it. Here I think the only thing I would add is maybe just a little color just over the okay. Alright, I hope we had fun here, and this is, again, you'll always hear me say it, have fun with your watercolors, enjoy, let's work on small comps, and then eventually doing the bigger, larger paintings is no problem. And if we peel off our tape, this makes a perfect small composition to pin up on our wall next to our desk where we work, our studio, our office. Maybe we work in the office and we want to put up a small painting. Maybe people come by, they love it, they want one too. You can create a couple of these, make prints of them, or make a couple for our friends at work. Okay, again, let's see if we could as you can see, nothing too fancy, really just very loose, very free, getting the basic shapes drawn in, and then just putting in the color. And really we used a lot of negative shape painting here. We painted around this white vase quite a bit, the top, around the handle, inside of the handle. So we did a lot of negative shape painting here, painting around an object to make it appear. And as well over here on this side of the vase, we added that paint here to make this side of the vase accentuate that so that we can see that clearly. And lots of good color and fresh color, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Alright everyone, we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.